We do not have a quorum, so we will not be taking any action on any items. Unfortunately, Dr. Quinn is ill today and out of the office, and Councilor Williams did have a conflicting appointment. He may or may not join us, but to stay in line with our agenda, I do want to thank everybody for attending today, and I really want to wish you all Happy New Year. We know how important utilities are to each of our residents, and so I thank you for taking your time out to come and update us and work with us through issues or through information that we can share with our residents. First, I'd like to call up, as part of new business, we have a presentation today from Ms. Anita Lee, who is the Fuse Executive Fellow with the Alabama Digital Expansion Team. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Madam President. I appreciate you putting me on the agenda and placing me on here.
Thank you.
Glad to have this opportunity to be able to kind of put certain things on the record. The first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about a technical assistance program meeting that's happening next Monday. And I realized that it was put together very, very last minute, which is the reason why I said, well, let me take this opportunity to kind of do some highlights of what this meeting is going to be about. Hopefully other counselors will be able to watch this and see this and then be able to see if they can attend. But then I'll also kind of give a little highlight of what is going to be taking place and what they'll be talking about. So the ADECA, which is the state agency that houses the digital expansion team, is doing a technical assistance program kickoff meeting. So at the beginning of my fellowship here with the city, I had an opportunity, I got the city of Birmingham to apply for a technical assistance program that's hosted by the state, and they were approved to be a part of the first of 10 counties. So they decided to make it a county-wide event. So this is a Jefferson County, not Birmingham specific. So it is happening next Monday on the 23rd. It will be at the Regional Planning Commission office on 20th Street North, and it's from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now, I'm not asking everyone to come to all that portions, but the way it's broken up is at 9 a.m. they will have elected officials around the county to come and learn a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about today, as well as an opportunity for internet service providers to talk with elected officials. Some public comments. I'm going to have lunch, come back. They have invited government departments, community anchor institutions, community leaders, nonprofit organizations to also learn about what this unprecedented amount of money can do for those organizations, and also an opportunity for public comments. So that is the 23rd, next Monday, and hopefully, might can attend, at least for the elected officials portion, maybe from the 9 to 9:30. What the technical assistance program is going to do, this is just a kickoff meeting, it's going to do several things to get the county and the state ready for these infrastructure dollars and BEAD funding. They're going to be doing, engaging more with elected officials and community members, because they want to identify the assets and identify the issues that our county is experiencing with broadband. They're going to do some data collection and information. They're going to be launching a phone survey. I don't know if you remember several months ago, earlier when I came for Digital Inclusion Week, I talked about doing a community survey, and that didn't really kick off the ground, which is kind of good, because then I don't have to do it. The state's going to do it. Right. And so it's going to be a phone survey that they're going to reach out to the community. So it's going to be important that we as the city make sure that that gets pushed out to our citizens so they can answer those questions. They're going to do some broadband asset mapping. They're going to basically do funding analysis, high-level cost of broadband deployment and internet deployment, and basically in the end they're going to create an entire county-wide analysis around broadband internet to get ready for this funding. Let me get to kind of the next part. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about what this funding is all about, and basically kind of making the case as to why our city and our county has to be a little bit more proactive when we're talking about broadband and internet in our communities. I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. The Technical Assistance Program timeline, it's starting here in January, and it will finish up around March 2023 when they're going to have that county profile available. So we are so excited. Obviously, this money, the broadband deployment fund, is part of the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill that came through back in 2021, and now it is ready to start making its move. One of the things that is happening, there's three parts of the money. There is the BEAD money, which is dedicated to infrastructure and internet deployment. There is Middle Mile, which is also another part of broadband deployment. And then there is the Digital Equity Act funding, which is specifically for programming. So that's about getting digital skills in our community as well as getting devices. And so the biggest part of the money, obviously, is the infrastructure dollars. Excuse me, sorry. And there is a process that is going on in order to be able to figure out how much the state of Alabama would be receiving. Right now, well, it just wrapped up. The first thing that the FCC did was do a challenge to the broadband maps. There's a broadband map that is published every year that's usually information provided by the internet service providers. They put out an opportunity for folks to challenge that map in order to definitively define where internet is needed, because that map is going to determine what portion our state will get of the $42 billion. It is pretty much estimated that we will receive about $1.7 billion out of the 42, and the ADECA Digital Expansion Team are going to be the agency that kind of distributes that funds, which is why it's important that we advocate for the portions that we need. Also, there is the Digital Equity Act funds. There's about $1.4 billion is going to flow through the states, and then there's going to be a $1.2 billion nationwide competitive grant that's going to be available for nonprofits and anchor institutions to be able to apply. So why is that important? Like I said, that portion of the money is to get our communities ready for this great internet that we're going to be providing. They have to have skills, they have to have devices, otherwise we'll just have pretty fiber. Mm-hmm. So that fund, which is also the reason why, please excuse me, so much stuff coming out in my head, and then I got to outsource this. This is why it's important and why I'm spending my time here to have the City of Birmingham to assist with coming up with a coalition in order to get ready for the DEA money. I think that I'll be working on that as the ending of my fellowship time, and I look forward to sharing more details about the coalition building and the Digital Equity Summit that I'd like to place or put on here in the City of Birmingham for the residents and for the community organizations. So going back to the BEAD funding, each state was given some planning money. It's 5-year planning money. They have 1 year from the moment that they received their planning funds to actually come up with a digital equity plan. I am happy to report that the state of Alabama was announced to got their funding on December 19th, and they got a little bit under $6 million. And so they're going to be using that funding to actually do some feasibility studies, and part of what's happening this next week with the kickoff meeting for the technical assistance. Let's see. And the last thing I really want to express to you, President, and to the council is that the timeline for this funding is very intentional. The NTIA is going to be very intentional. They're going to make sure that, one, that this broadband is covering the populations that we want it to reach. There is a list of covered populations that the state has to prove that they're going to make sure that these funds and these services reach, or they're going to deny their proposals. And that's including obviously racial and ethnic minorities, low-income populations, our seniors and the aging population, even our incarcerated and reentry citizens have to be considered when we're talking about deploying this internet and providing these services. And so, and then rural is at the end, and all the other ones I'm like, we have here in the city of Birmingham, so we got to make sure. Wrap this up by saying that I think it's very important that the city has to be very proactive about how they think about internet. I think the history of it is that we do community development, we have new businesses, we have new subdivisions, we repair homes and things of that nature, and then we allow the internet services providers to lay and deploy internet and cable and telephone and all the utilities. Because internet is not a utility yet, it's going to be important that the city make sure that they are creating an environment where if current internet service providers are not going to deploy internet, that we bring in other internet service providers, if possible, to deploy internet in all communities and neighborhoods, including those that are considered affordable housing. So that is, really, like I said, very, very high level. I will invite you, Madam President and members of the council, to attend the meeting on the 21st. Whatever I will be there and whatever I learn, I will continue to pass on. I am also looking forward to doing some projects with Councilor Moore. Got some great conversations coming up with other counselors. I remember what it was. I lost it, and I remember what it was. What I also want for the council to understand is that all of this great money is coming. It's going to be great, and it's going to be wonderful. However, probably the first shovel is not going to hit the ground until at least 2025, if not later. So it's going to be, and our citizens need good internet and skills today. So it's going to be important that our city tries to do as much as they can in order to start deploying services and getting things ready for our citizens, because we can't wait to 2025 or 2026 for someone to get good internet. That's 2 or 3 years lost. So that was the little part that flooded out of my head, but I wanted to make sure that is said. And there are, like I said, opportunities. There is funding that's available now. I know there's ARPA funds. There's all different types of other funding that can be used to deploy internet services in our unserved communities, and then they can be enhanced when we get this great money coming down the pike. So thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see one or more of you on the 23rd.
Well, thank you very much. I am very grateful for the information that you've shared this afternoon. Just a couple of questions and just some comments. I'll start off first with a comment just saying that I am happy to see that part of what the Biden administration has put into this program is offering states and municipalities this technical assistance. We're seeing this in other areas with our stormwater division and other things. We know this money is going to be transformative to our city, so we want to get this right within each of the municipalities, and of course here in Birmingham, as we have more construction and putting in more homes. I just want to be sure that access is available not only for our residents but for our businesses as well, so that we're all wired in and we can communicate and have the best type of information available as we possible. I did attend recently, back in November, there was several workshops at the National League of Cities meetings, and it was around broadband and around some of the programs or opportunities that you've listed here as part of your program timeline. And I believe this work was going on in I thought it was either Texas or Florida, and it was sort of how you're wiring communities to be sure that they meet those needs. So I just wanted to find out, in your opinion, looking at the aggressive nature of this program timeline, where do you think the state of Alabama or where the city of Birmingham sits in being aggressive and being able to go out and capture that money and be sure that we put it to good use?
Right. So one of the things is what I referred to earlier about the city of Birmingham creating a digital equity coalition. Whether or not that lives in the city, that's neither here nor there. And a lot of times it doesn't live in the city. It convenes in the city, but it winds up living in maybe an anchor institution or a nonprofit. That type of coalition that is functioning and sustainable can be laser focused on making sure that that funding is being used and it's being used correctly for the citizens. So I think that's very important. And I also going to recommend that the city of Birmingham invest in a digital equity officer here in the city, which has happened in other cities to great success, like Baltimore, like Detroit. Someone that is in the city that has the ability to be a part of all the different departments. A lot of times people are, everyone's in the different departments. Community development's laser focused on here. PEP is laser focused on here. DPW is laser focused on here. But having a digital equity officer that is able to understand how important digital inclusion activities are important in all those departments and can make sure that those folks are coming to the table is going to be very, very important.
Well, like you're saying, that coalition building, I'm sure, is going to be a very important piece of this project and how it proceeds further. Again, just to be sure that our reach is
right.
Reaching, and that again we utilize these dollars in a most efficient manner.
I will say one more thing.
Yes.
I wanted to also recommend, and I know because you were thinking about, well, where is the city face? I think having either the one of the council people or all of you or this mayor to invest in small internet infrastructure projects, maybe neighborhood-wise or community-wise, and so that you can see that there are various different innovative ways to deploy good, reliable, affordable internet in a small community that can scale.
Okay. And because when you talk about large community versus small communities, most people, when they think of this broadband access or anywhere that it's not available, most people think it's a rural issue. But can you talk to a little bit about how you could say within the urban footprint of the city of Birmingham, are you saying small communities or pockets within a city or municipality like ours? Are you thinking more rural when you talk about communities?
No, I'm thinking like in the city, yes. So, yeah, that is a misnomer that only rural communities have no internet access. Just like, unfortunately, when you think about the racial injustices of redlining in the housing community, there is the concept of digital redlining, and people interpret that differently. But basically, there are pockets. There is an interactive map that the state of Alabama has right now that you can go take a look at communities within all the states to see how much infrastructure is available and what speeds that's provided in those cities. And I have a map next to my office. I sit in GA area, and you can see where there are places where they're either very, very low bandwidth, or there's none at all, or, and neither one of those is good, because, it's one thing to say, okay, well, you have internet. It's another thing if it's no good, and I've heard stories since I've been here about places where they're like, I have internet, but it doesn't even, it buffers all the time. It's not fast, it's not speed. So there's a robust part of that. And then there's the affordability. Maybe you have access, but if you can't afford it, then it's still of no use piece to you. So, yeah, there are, and that's what this technical assistance program is going to do as well. This state is going to kind of come in and not make the assumption that the only places where we need to place this is in rural.
All right, well, thank you. Well, again, this information is very valuable to us. I will pass out those dates and location along to our other utilities members
Absolutely.
of the committee, as well as other city councilors, because I'm sure there'll be some interest in at least attending that portion of the meeting where
Right.
you'll be rolling that out to the local elected officials, so that we can just get that briefing and just find out what that technology and other programs will be available to
And an
us.
opportunity to talk to internet service providers who are looking to either enter the market, to enhance the market. It's very important
Okay.
as well.
And that location, would you give me that again? You're going to be at the Regional Planning Commission
This is the
office?
regional, I can send you this.
Perfect. Okay.
I can give, can I?
No, that's right. You can just give Isola when
Okay.
you finish, and then we'll get that in our minutes, and then we can get that out for the rest of the council.
That's going to be January 23rd, next Monday at the Regional Planning Commission County Office.
All right. Thank you so much. We
Thank you
appreciate
so
you.
much.
And I would, as you advance through your timeline, I would like to invite you back as you feel that you have information that would be very pertinent to the rest of the council and to our residents who often look
Absolutely.
into this meeting, and then just keep everybody abreast of what's going on with this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Connect 99 is still on for the Affordable Connectivity
Yes, thank
Program.
you
I
about
meant to
that.
throw that in there too.
We were using a lot of the time at the end of council meeting to make residents aware of that, and I do know that Mayor Woodfin's office has been doing some promotions to be sure residents are aware of that. So I don't think, we feel as if we've come out of COVID in a certain way, but we still have some of those issues that came to light with us as far as availability and access that I still feel we need to focus on, and that people have an opportunity to get these services at a reduced or a fee that they can afford.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, President.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll turn our agenda on to old business, and I just would like to give this opportunity to have status of ongoing projects. And we're going to go a little outside of the list that we see here today. I would like to call up Mr. Rick Jackson with the Birmingham Waterworks, and they have had a call to action with the request to just get information and share it with us. So Rick, I'm going to turn the program over to you, and if you'll introduce the guests that you have and the information that you all are going to share.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you,
Happy
Madam
New Year
President.
to you.
We are thrilled to be here today, and so Birmingham Waterworks is hitting the ground full speed with communicating and being a resource to our customers, which many of them are your residents. And so today with our status report, we wanted to be very comprehensive, and I have, my general manager here, Michael Johnson,
Good morning, Mr.
and he'll introduce our executive team.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Johnson. How are you? Great
Good
to
afternoon.
see
We
you.
really appreciate this opportunity. Before I get started with our staff, we have one of our board members here, Director Blankenship. I want to see if he has something he'd like to share.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Madam
Good
President
afternoon.
and other members. Just real quick, thank you for inviting us again. Just wanted to kind of have an opportunity to bring our executive team here to speak to you directly and allow you to answer any questions that you may have. There's been a lot of misinformation about things surrounding the utility that's been in the community, and we wanted to be able to address some of those things. One thing that stands out to me most that we've not said publicly, but has been a good practice of BWWB is that during this pandemic and this challenging time to date, we've not disconnected any ratepayers' water. I mean, we've heard all kinds of complaints about extenuating these bills and different circumstances, things like that, but nobody has really said that BWWB has not turned our water off. And I think that's just something for the good of our utility, what we've done for our ratepayers, but it has not been brought to anyone's attention. So I think this is an opportunity for us to kind of clear the air and share with you and the citizens, what we're doing to be a good partner in the community. And I think Mr. Johnson and his team here today. They'll do a great job, and just thank you for extending the time to them. So.
Well, thank you. And again, we do appreciate you bringing the team over with you and your diligence in wanting to be sure that that communication was made to the public. So when the call went out, you all were ready and able and willing to bring this information over to us. And I do want to thank you on behalf of the residents. We know what the pandemic did for our families here in the city of Birmingham and the challenges that it placed on utilities, rent, all of that type of assistance. So I want to thank you all publicly for working with customers. Everybody may not have been feel as if they got the answer that they wanted, but I do think it goes a long way when you talk about that you did not disconnect. And as now we're going into this, the third year of this, what we can do to bring ourselves out of this. So thank you. Appreciate it.
And Madam Chair, we have our senior staff here that's with me. Of course, I can't do all of this, and I really appreciate our staff. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. My name is Iris Fisher. I serve as the Assistant General Manager of Finance and Administration. Now, that division entails the IT department, HR department, accounting, as well as purchasing, also the call center, as well as customer support. Again, a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Mr. President, this is Derek Murphy. I serve as the Assistant General Manager of Engineering and Maintenance. That division represents a lot of work that is performed from construction to maintenance. Where a lot of cities see a lot of leaks, we handle leaks, but also our pipeline replacement program. We're extremely aggressive with that, more so than many utilities around, and also engineering and handle our pumps and motors. So that department details those divisions.
Thank you, and I will say, Mr. Murphy, that we do appreciate the work that is done by your department. And I don't know if the residents know, you do communicate to each council office when working in tandem with the city of Birmingham when you have upcoming pipe replacement or anything that within the infrastructure of our roads. I know nothing frustrates a resident more than we go and pave roads, and then we have to have those chunks of the road replaced because of the any type of installation and work that you all are doing. So I do appreciate the communication that you bring over to each district, and I believe each council, I can speak on their behalf, that we do our best to disseminate that information so that we residents know that we're working to work together to try to minimize any disruption or how our streets are going to be looking. So thank you for keeping us posted with those. And y'all, we get these big old maps like this all the time. So thank you very much. It's almost big, tall as me. Thank you.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, if it didn't take our board of directors supporting us and also a vision of our general manager, because one of the first things he stated was we got to get in the community, we got to go to meetings or whatever we need to do to serve the community. So we couldn't get this done without the support of our general managers and board of directors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, I'm Jeff Thompson. I am the Assistant General Manager of Operations and Technical Services. So my division is focused primarily on water production and on water quality. So that includes the reservoirs that store our raw water, the raw water delivery to our treatment plants, all of our treatment plants, and then the laboratory that ensures that all of the water going out to all of our customers is of exceptional quality. So that's my division.
Thank you very much. Of course, we want to be sure what we're drinking is safe and of good quality. So thank you.
And I must say that Birmingham Waterworks responds very timely. At least we try to on no matter what the issue is, because we do realize the importance of every single customer that we have and what their unique circumstances might be. So I've got a presentation, Madam Chairwoman, that I'd like to go through. Now, I know there's some questions around us resuming disconnections,
yes,
but hopefully I'll give you kind of a summary overview of some other items that'll help you as you go through and ask questions and so forth.
Thank you.
So this cover on this presentation it says, with you in mind. We never make a decision without thinking about how it impacts our customers. And so this is very thoughtful in why we've included this. Next slide, Rick. We're on slide 2. The agenda, just a little bit about our capital budget, not much. Talk about drinking water quality. Jeff mentioned it earlier. We're always concerned about that. Our lead reduction program. We know that's near and dear to every individual who consumes water. And a little bit about our rate setting. Some may think that we just willy-nilly in some cases set a rate. I have a rate increase, but we're very thoughtful and strategic about how we do that. And then we'll talk about our delinquent account administration and then see if there are questions. Of course, you can stop me as we go through. A little bit about our capital budget. Rick, we're on slide number 4. So the takeaway from this slide is that we are a huge system. Derek mentioned pumps and motors. I've highlighted here the miles of pipe that we have in the ground. That's over 4,000 miles of pipe and over 1,000 miles of service line. So we're a huge system. We're one of the largest in the country. Next slide. Capital budget, and I'll highlight a couple things here. This budget is $72.3 million. The first item up there, the $18 million for general capital and technology, included in that is funding to start to explore automated meter reading. I mean, that's something that this utility has had on its list for several years. Our strategic plan calls for us to look at that. Our board has embraced that, and never in any other time than this has it been more apparent that we really need to look at that. And then I'll go down to the third item here is our distribution main replacement program, $25 million. Work all the way around the city. Derek passed out those maps, and we got maps everywhere. We're tracking that program, and this board at one time put about $15 million in that program. As you can see, we've got about $25 million, and it's been as high as $30 million. But we only want to put in there as much as we can manage on an annual basis. Slide number 6, and if you focus over on the left-hand side, this is just kind of a summary of our activity, work order activity in 2022. We've got, I think, probably about 15,000 or so hydrants in our system, and that's so very important. And we try to replace those. In fact, we do. We don't let those, as soon as we find out that there's an issue with those, we repair them. We've repaired about 252 in 2022. Valves, almost a little over 2,900, and then leak orders over 5,000. And if you think about that, that's over 400 a month. And so we directly impact our customers in doing that, but we want to respond timely to those leaks, whether it's nights, weekends, because we know customers do not want to be without water, and we don't want them to be without water. This last one here, false alarms, we do get false alarms, and we had over 1,100 of those this past year. We go out and send inspectors out to make sure that there isn't a leak. So we consider those very, very important to us to explore and investigate. Slide 7, Rick. So on this slide here, I mentioned that we had over 4,000 miles of service line, and the thing about this service line is that if you look to the left there, we've got over 355 miles of unlined cast iron pipe. That's old pipe. Galvanized steel pipe, 262 miles of that. That makes up about 14% of our system, but about 67% of our problems. And so when we're out in these neighborhoods, that's what we're replacing. We're replacing this old stuff so that our customers don't have to experience slow water pressure. Sometimes it may be in the house, but we do our part in trying to make sure we replace all this old pipe. Slide number 8, this is really a significant improvement that we are so proud of. With Derek and his team, and our board has put money in the budget over years for GIS. Basically what this is, and I'll spare all of the details, but this allows us to track all of our pipe in the ground its age, whether it's galvanized steel, whether it's unlined cast iron. And so at any given point, that those maps that you get, they are an accurate depiction of what's in the ground. Allows us to be more effective and efficient. Okay, slide number 9. I talked about those fire hydrants earlier, and on the left-hand side there, you'll see a fire hydrant that was before. You can see how the water pressure is kind of low. On the right-hand side, you can see the after. And so we maintain these fire hydrants because that ISO rating that you're familiar with keeps our insurance rates down. That makes up 40% of the score, the ISO score. So if you got a neighborhood that's got good fire protection, as you know, then you're going to get better insurance rates. And we can respond. Fire departments don't have a problem with water pressure. Next slide, Rick. Drinking water quality. So our utility has been given many awards over the years. One such organization that we've applied to and consistently receive awards from is the Partnership for Safe Water. And we've received all kinds of awards for quality of water, and each one of our treatment plants have received the award for water quality from the Partnership for Safe Water. Next slide. And this little gentleman you see here to the left, you know, he's smiling, he's got his glasses on, he's pouring this water over his head. There's a lot of places that you couldn't do that. And so we're thankful that our drinking water is really great quality. We have a state-of-the-art lab that performs over 100,000 water quality tests. And, you know, we're in a 5-county area. We've got 4 main sources, all of these tributaries and water sources that feed. We test throughout this system of over 100,000 samples on an annual basis. And then, of course, we're the largest. We have the largest water treatment plants in the state, and we received 7 particular recognitions for the various functions that these treatment plants perform. Whether it's optimization, whether it's this Director's Award for the Partnership for Safe Water. Best operated plant. We've got operators that have received these awards. Alabama Waterworks, the Alabama Mississippi Section Water Treatment Award, just a whole bunch of awards that we received. And one of the things that we're doing, and this is with the communications all over the utility, is we want to do a better job of telling that story about the things that we do. Next slide. Lead reduction program, and just briefly on that, right now what we're doing is you know, we have a program in place to where when we go out and we find lead service, we'll replace those. We also have on our website where customers can go out and look and see if whether or not they could potentially have lead in their service line, and then over the years, of course, that's changed now. The industry used lead service lines in their when they were putting in a water service. So we're continuing to work on if we run into lead to replace it. Now, one of the things here that we've done lately, we've gotten a loan from the state revolving fund. It's for lead service line replacement. And so, again, this is near and dear to us. I had the little gentleman there with the water pouring it on his head. We want to make sure that all of our, from our standpoint, there's no lead in our water that we produce, but we just want to make sure that as we go through our pipeline replacement program, that we replace lead service lines when we do run into those. I'm on slide 13, Rick. So rate setting, I mentioned earlier that we don't just willy-nilly determine a water rate. We look at what the revenue that we need to operate. We look at how much water customers will consume. That's residential, commercial customers, just across the board. And we have policies that we have to comply with. And those policies require that we have certain reserves on hand. We have certain debt service coverage. I know you're familiar with that. City issues bonds. Debt service coverage is very important. So the byproduct of that process is our rate increase. So when the board passes, they pass some budgets, not rate increases. Next slide, 14, and I know it's been all over the news for some time. And after we passed the budget, we let the public know that our rate increase was 3.9% for 2023, and I would say it's lower than our counterparts. Slide number 15, in 2023, the impact on a residential customer that uses about 6 CCFs of water, that's 6 in the CCFs, that's 748 gallons, and you can see that's approximately 4,500 gallons. They see an increase of about $1.55 on their bill. And these out years are just projections. We consider budgets on each particular year. But this is from a planning standpoint. We kind of look and see a snapshot based on where we are at that point, what it would potentially be. Next slide, Rick. So billing, I talked about getting down to the point where we are resuming disconnects. So the big driver is this, Madam President, is we've seen a significant increase in our delinquent accounts, and you expect that. Since January, we've gone up about 12.3 million. We've seen about 4.4 million in water, another 7.9 million in sewer. So we've got to resume disconnects, and then also. We are fully staffed with meter reading. We may be down a person or two now, and we're fully staffed for the most part in our bill editing department. Now, the thing that caused us the biggest issue was we mass estimated. Basically, what we did there is if you can't read the meters, we have the authority and the ability to estimate, but you don't want to do that on a mass basis. And at the time that we did it, there were a few systems tweaks that we needed to do. But we've gone through now. We're billing 99% of our customers. They're receiving a timely bill. We have over 200,000 customers that we bill every month. And so we're always going to have some customers, for some reason, that don't get a bill. Either a vehicle may be parked on a meter, or there may be some other administrative issue associated with the customer. They may have to have a reread because they don't think their consumption is correct. There's always going to be around, right now, I think we're probably around 2,000 or 3,000 customers who we haven't billed because there may be some kind of issue. They may want to reread, like I said, or we may go out. We have a process to where we don't just bill, we edit, and if there's something that we see is wrong, we'll go check it first before we bill the customer. And we did that during the time that we were doing these estimates. So again, we're not going to be 100%, but we'll be close to it. All of those customers that had during this issue of delayed billing, some customers didn't get bills for multiple months. We ran all of our customers through our system, regardless of whether they were estimated or not, regardless of whether they received a timely bill, because it wasn't everyone. We ran them through our system, and if anyone was due a credit, we're working on giving all those credits, and we're almost 100% done with those credits. The other day I checked, we're very few credits left. The ones that are left were some outliers that we needed to check, just like this 1% that we didn't bill. There are some ones that we kind of have to check to make sure the credit is okay, is computed okay. And then we've given refunds to those that are due a refund. We gave a refund if an individual's refund due was $50 or more, and we wrote them a check, just to get them their money. And so we're well on the way to completing all of those. There's very few of those left. With the refunds, they're being given as a customer is billed, not just right away. As they're billed, they'll get that refund. And we think we return to normal operations. Now, we have to stay there. We have to stay there. One of the things that we've realized that customers, when you have an issue like this, frankly, customers, you want to build trust back with them. I mean, there's no question about that. But we are back to what we think is normal operations, and we're emphasizing every single day to our meter readers and to our staff that it's very important that we continue to work and build trust with our customers. Slide 17, Rick. So now with regard to our plan when we start back disconnect. So we have looked at several areas. Normally, we want to make sure that our hours are fit what our customers can do. We've been through this before with customers. So what we've done is, this was effective last Monday. We extended our phone hours from 7 to 7 each day. And of course, our lobby hours and our drive-through are still 8 to 5. Now, we opened this past Saturday. We didn't get a lot of traffic, but we wanted to be there for our customers, and we'll adjust that as we need. We think that getting closer to February, later this month, we think it'll pick up. But we're open from 8 to 12 on Saturdays. Now, we resume disconnects on the 15th. Now, what we've started doing is putting out door hangers for customers that are delinquent, so that they know. I mean, we've got this, if I may describe it, this kind of crescendo effect. We started notifying customers the end of December, January, and we've got all from a radio to TV to the door hangers, and we'll continually do that up through when we start disconnecting, so the customers know. And then we'll also open on Saturdays. We don't want to disconnect a customer and then that customer is without water on a weekend. Now, even we do that now. If we don't, our practice has been never to disconnect on Fridays, but we'll wait. So the same thing here. We don't want customers to be without water if we disconnect them. Next slide. So this is our message, Madam President. We want our customers to help us help them. And we'll only disconnect water as a last resort. As a last resort. So we've got payment plans, payment deferrals. Customers can come in and say, well, we can pay you next Friday. We'll take that. 3 months installment plans. We got 6-month installment plans, and we got 12-month installment plans. But they gotta help us help them, because one of the things our bond indenture requires that we not give away free water, because just like City of Birmingham and organization, we have bonded indebtedness that we have to pay. And so again, we're excited about it. We know it's a tough time for our customers, but we're up to the challenge with our team and what we've got in place from a planning standpoint to be able to answer the customers' questions and respond. So that we're accurate and we're rendering the kind of service we need to under these circumstances.
Well, I want to thank you so much for bringing this information to us and sharing this in this forum or this platform this afternoon. I do have just a couple of questions that I want to share with you, and this is based on questions we may have received in our office, because quite often when residents have concerns, they will call the city councilor first, and even though your office, let me say again, your customer service office and your liaison for the city, they work very well with us in trying to really work through any issue that we bring their way. I want to talk just a little bit more and ask some more questions about the rate setting overview. And I am happy that you shared what that rate increase would be. I believe it says here about 3.4% impact on a customer's bill, correct?
Yes.
And it comes down to about $1.55.
Yes.
So many residents are like me on a fixed income. You get retirement, you may get like you get Social Security and you get other things. And so you may think that this is a small amount of money, but talk to us so that as a resident, we can understand what goes into that rate setting overview. Is this the cost of staff? Is this the cost of equipment? Does this overlay into the pipe replacement that you're doing? Just tell us what all goes into that, if you don't mind. Just kind of very simple terms. And I know the slide.
Oh, no, that's fine. And I appreciate you asking that question because that is the detail that we go into when we prepare our budget. We meet with every one of our departments to see what they need to operate. Our big expenditure, or one of them, is chemicals. You know, we've seen a significant increase in chemicals to treat the water. That's important to us. We've also seen a significant increase in power costs. You know, we see Alabama Power, what their increase was, and you know, we see that in our rates. Our power bill went from, I think, it probably around $7 million to up to $9 million budget for this year. Chemicals were probably up another $2 million for this past year. I'm looking at our staff just to make sure I'm not saying something wrong. So that's $4 million off of the just right off of the top there. And then when you look at construction costs, you know, we've seen construction costs increase significantly. Some of those costs have increased up around 50% or even more to be able to repair pipe that's in the ground. And then we've also seen an increase in labor costs. It's hard to maintain qualified applicants, personnel. And in our business, there are a lot of specialty needs. And I know City of Birmingham, I only reference this because I've seen it here, that it's tough to fill certain positions. And around our water industry, the same challenge is there. You've got to have qualified people to treat this water so that we don't have issues there. So those are two big ones, the chemicals, treating the water, and then power costs. I know everybody sees that in their pocketbook. Last I saw, I'm going by memory here, there's about a $22 increase in the power bill, 16 plus 6, and then there's an increase in the gas bill, probably around $4 or $5 or thereabouts. And so those are the two that I know stick out. And then we have to maintain our capital program.
Thank you very much. I really, that's why I appreciate you coming today, because I think the average ratepayer may not understand what goes into this decision making, and then we hear on the news or we hear, you know, everybody, oh, they're going to go up on my bill. And so again, as I said, for those of us with fixed incomes, that can be something because you get the same amount of money every month, but how you make that rate increase pay into your...
Yeah, and I would say this, Madam Chairwoman, is at the time that we did this budget, inflation was 8.3%. And you probably recall that the other utilities said there was an increase there was inflation. Our rate increase was 3.9%. What we did is we had to make some significant adjustments in certain personnel costs within our budget to be able to get to 3.9%. And so we sacrificed to be able to do that. And when we start our budget process, one of the reasons we publish the impact on a residential customer is because we know, you know, if you look at the City of Birmingham, probably 26%, you probably know this better than I, at or below the poverty level. And also a good number of baby boomers that have retired. Baby boomer population was the largest. Those are the ones that are impacted. And so when we publish a rate increase, we're saying about how much would a residential customer be impacted by a rate increase. Now, the other thing we do is our first tier rate up to the 6 CCF, that captures most of your smaller households, and their rate is a little lower. Now, if you use more water, then the rate goes up. But you know, our assumption there is that, you know, the more water you use, you know, you're willing to pay for that. Now, I'll say the other thing here is, and I know he doesn't mind me saying this, but one of the things that we're going to do this year, we have a a program that's called the Wiser Water Program, and also Fix a Leak Week. But because we get customers that are concerned about their consumption and think that they may not have used as much water, we are going to expand those programs to provide more continuous education on how to check for leaks, how to conserve water, so that water bill, you can try to control that as much as you can. And also automated meter reading, if we can get to that at some point, the way that system works is you can measure how much water you use on a continuous basis. So if something going on with you washing the car and you got the hose pipe running, you may want to go, you can't do it like you used to. You see how much water you use. So anyway, we're looking at proactive ways to help our customers.
Well, thank you for that. And the other, you just mentioned, when we talk about, trying to think, I lost my train of thought, on just ways that we can conserve, or the ways as a customer we can be more aware of what we can do to help minimize that amount of consumption, or how to, work smarter in how we consume our water as it relates to our bill. The last thing I did just want to get you to expound on is the fact of now with the delinquent ratepayers that they will lose their service. I do thank you for outlining to us the options that you have. I know sometimes when I've been there before, when you have to make a decision of which utility I'm going to pay, or when I'm going to pay my rent, my mortgage, what am I going to do? And these are decisions that we have residents making every day. I just want to be sure that they understand, though, that you do have multiple payment plan options. And so what do you suggest that when I open up that bill and I've got that sticker shock, or I realize I can't afford this, or I'm not going to be able to make that payment, is it one of the numbers, the customer service number?
Yes,
How would they contact?
244-4000.
Okay, give it again. I know I called it before.
205-244-4000.
244-4000, absolutely correct. Thank you. And I do also want residents to be aware of the increase in the customer service hours. And often, sometimes you may get home, find that you have a problem after work. And so it's important that you're continuing that customer service by phone up to 7 o'clock.
Yes,
so
and we have.
Thank you for going back to that.
And we do have agents on call or on the phone 24/7.
Okay.
But these are just the ones that can handle some of the billing calls. But we have an agent that works 24/7 now.
And just for our public consumption, those disconnections, they would give us the dates when
So beginning February 15th, we will start disconnecting service for those that haven't paid, unless you have a payment arrangement.
All right. Well, thank you. I do want to thank you again, and thank you for bringing your team and making this information available to us. And I just want to encourage residents, if you have any questions at all, I want you to get in touch with the Birmingham Water Works and their customer service, so that you don't want to wait until the last minute if you have a problem. I know there have been multiple programs during the pandemic that have helped with utility assistance, and so I want to ask our residents to be sure to follow up on that. Now, let me ask your program, your foundation, does that still function?
Yes, the H2O Foundation, 244-4390, Rick? That's it. 244-4390.
All right, thank you very much. And thank you again. And as I said, I just want to thank you on behalf of the D7 office. As people call in, they have leaks and they have problems, that I do want to thank your customer service and your advocate that works with our office. We've had some great turnaround with that, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
We appreciate it too, Madam Chairwoman. And if you know that if you call us, we're coming, and so we really appreciate it. And I know Isola is on all of those emails, so we really appreciate it.
I think Isola's on speed dial over there. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. At this time, I would just like to allow any other of our utilities that would like to make an update and give us any information on the status of ongoing projects. And I see Miss Alabama Power out there. Come on up. I'm going to put you on the spot and get you to come up first. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam President. For those of you who may have forgotten who I am Blair Sullins, Community Development Specialist with Alabama Power's Birmingham Division External Affairs. From time to time, my counterpart, Julian Grant, and I will stand in one another's stead in the event we have any conflicts to arise, because we want to ensure that we're bringing the most up-to-date information to the city of Birmingham. But I just wanted to state that we're still excited to continue our partnership with the city of Birmingham. One of our goals, or one of many of our goals, particularly for this year, is to increase public safety. To that point, we are continuing to work with Parks and Recs, working with that division to look at ways in which we can help upgrade lighting in some of the parks. As I understand it, based on our point of contact, who again is Julian, the ball is in their court. But as information becomes available to us, we'll be sure to provide those updates as they arise from now up until the next meeting. So look forward to Julian joining next month's meeting to provide any additional information at that particular time. That's all I have.
Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate you coming over and standing in for Julian. We like to see you as well, so we love having you in. We do want to thank Julian. He did give us, at the most recent meeting we had, he did give us some updates. There was a request on where we were with some of those parks and lighting projects, and I believe he emailed that, or either he called in. I think he was on paternity leave at that time.
Yes.
So we do thank you all for that work. Mayor Whitman did talk today. You know, we get a lot of questions about lighting and especially the street lighting and things like that. And he talked about the relationship of the city of Birmingham with ALDOT and what we can do. But I'm most interested in, as we move forward, the additional lighting and as part of the safety within our parks and in our neighborhoods. So thank you. Appreciate that work. We'll be looking for Julian as we continue those updates.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next I do see Spectrum and Mr. Smith. Good afternoon.
We're going to start going by age instead of alphabetical order.
We're going to flip this around one time.
That's okay.
Right.
How you doing today?
Hello, how are you?
Good. Just a couple of things. We don't have a lot of special somethings, but I wanted to tell you we're continuing to do what we do every day. And that's to make sure the network that we have in your city is sound, it's solid, it's safe, and it's delivering. And I say that because I've been doing this a long time. And I've watched this network go from just cable to cable and phone, voice over internet, broadband, small business, residential, large business, commercial. We do it all. And I want to say this kind of a point here. I know some of the funding that was mentioned earlier coming from federal funding. We work with federal funding as well, and I've attended some ADECA meetings. I know a lot of the focus is on rural broadband. But I want to make a statement here to you, the council, and chair, to anybody, like every citizen within the city of Birmingham has access to our service. Now, whether they take it or not is a different story. I heard the Housing Authority mention sometimes the Housing Authority may have some options on some providers. We provide in some cases. I read an article today where the city of New York has just entered into a partnership with Spectrum. I think that's 3,475 units that we'll be providing service for. And we made attempts to do that here. That's another conversation. But as a city, rest assured, every constituent within this city has access to our services. And let me tell you a couple of things. We have different levels of service. You know, you can get up to 300 megabits with internet, advanced Wi-Fi, and mobility for $49.99 a month. I'm going to throw a couple of numbers out there. I'm going to throw something else. There's a 500 megabits per second internet, ultra advanced Wi-Fi, and a mobile phone as well, $69.98. And then you can get a gig service. You want all of it? You can get a gig service, advanced Wi-Fi, mobile, and there's no contracts, enhanced Wi-Fi security for $89.98 a month. It's a lot of service. If you don't need all that, you don't have to get all that. We do participate in the affordable connectivity program. So if you qualify for any of those, that's $30 off those bills there. And we have one program that's $29.95. So if you got a low-income component of the community, they can get that $29.95 program, go and let the Affordable Connectivity Program take care of them. It's free. So, but I do want to make you aware and state this, that every home within the city of Birmingham has access to Spectrum service. Whether they choose to take it, adopt it, that's a different thing, but it is available. And I do want to make you aware, a lot of the funding that's coming out, and over the last few months, I've been in Greene County, Bibb County, and Hale County, in some of those rural areas, because there's nothing there. We're putting it there, so our state will be a better state. But I can tell you right now, your city is a better city because we're here, okay?
Well, thank you. Thank you for providing that information. Like you said, and as I said when Ms. Lee was speaking, that often there's the question, is that Alabama money going to be spent more in a rural setting or also be placed over here in the urban sector as well?
Well, it depends on the money. See, there's money called the RDOF, Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. And a lot of it depends on density of property. It also depends on maps. There's several maps out there. You got BEAD maps, you got other maps, and challenge programs as mentioned. But depending upon the mapping, BEAD is the newest one coming around because some of the maps used on RDOF were not quite as accurate as we thought. But in the area that we are here, it doesn't matter which one to use because everybody has access to the service. The federal funding, we're trying to make sure that our state is granularly covered. So we've done that. But in Birmingham, and I would venture to say probably 80% of Jefferson County is covered. And I'll even use our colleague, between us and AT&T, there should not be very many gaps in this entire county.
Thank you. I did want to ask you a question, and you may or may not be able to answer this. We did have just a few residents, and I guess I had a question for myself. Some residents, they received modems where you all did a modem upgrade in a lot of households. Do you know if that is throughout the city, or does that just depend on the age of your modem or the type modem that you may have in your home?
So that's kind of a technical sales end. A lot of modems are being replaced based on newer services. Like I had a modem in my home because I've been in this game so long that had to be replaced because the new modems have an access to better security. See, what we want to do, we want to make sure that nobody can hack into your home, nobody can hack into your service. There are times at my house and many houses with multiple users. A lot of my kids and daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws go, well, you got 8 or 9 people on the device at one time. You don't want that to provide any security issues. So the newer modems are sounder, they're more robust in providing that security that you want. So depending upon what information is shown, some issues I said, okay, here's modem A, B, C, and D that are current. Here's modem E, F, G, and H that need to be replaced because they don't meet certain safety criteria. If you don't meet that safety criteria, we want to get them out of the system. We want to give you everything that's going to make you safe, make sure you don't get hacked. The worst thing you could do is try to pay a bill over line if somebody got you access to the information. We don't want that to happen. So that's one of the reasons modems are being replaced, because they're more secure.
Thank you, and that is very helpful to know because I've been noticing up and down my street. I think most of us we're just not technically. We're challenged a bit. So the instruction said, oh, very simple, just do this, do that. But I had to notice the other morning that the truck was kind of going down from door to door after he left me, so they came in and got that done. But you are exactly right, because there was messaging like weak security or low security, and so once those modems have been fixed, I think most of us are seeing that security level was increased. So appreciate Spectrum for doing that for people who may not have paid that any attention. And then, like you said, you go and try to buy something online, and there you are, you're wiped out. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, thank you for that update.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I wasn't sure if we have any other utilities or organizations that needed to give an update. I don't think we do. All right, well, I will call for adjournment. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be February 17th. Here in the council chambers at 2:00 p.m., and I'll be sure that my colleagues get that message as well. All right, well, thank you all very much. Now the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.